Yo, yo. All right, yep, we're doing it. This is the official. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and everything. Let me know if my microphone or anything's too loud. Yeah, boy. Got a super dope special appearance for you guys for tonight. So, definitely excited about that. Yeah. Yo, Lightspeed, what's up, homie? Oh shit, yo. Mad props. That's actually what's up. Yeah, you know what's funny is that it's like 55 today and like hella sunny out in Las Vegas. So I'm sorry for everything, and if you went through like crazy shit just to get to wherever you needed to be for this. So I highly appreciate you risking your life for this live stream. But yeah, big shout out to you guys, and on your new track too. There's a certain few parts, like I can't fucking talk. There's a few stems that like I wish I had more broken down. Like I was able to like attack like all the elements that were in the stem, but I think I did fairly well on it, and I'm actually really excited to share it with you guys. So yeah, you better return that. All right. But yeah, I'm just going to play some music until we get some people in here in the meantime, and we'll just hang tight. Done it remotely. Yeah, remotely. Yeah, no, dude, honestly, you probably should have just done that, homie. I mean, yeah. But yo, big ups on this track, by the way. It's freaking dope. I really like it. I know, dude, this track's a banger, homie. Oh shit, are you guys like kicking it together right now? Are you guys like actually hanging out right now together watching this? What? That's tight. Yeah, thanks for sending me the track to play around with too. I hope the quality is gonna be okay like over the stream. Obviously it's going to be like a lot better when I send you guys like the WAV and MP3 version, but hopefully it sounds okay like coming through my direct out right now. Plus no kids and wife here. Yup. And 2 computers. One. What, dude? You guys got the setup. Yo, how's Portland? Are you guys like doing any shows out there lately, or like anything going on? Hell yeah, boy. Yeah, I had to like do a bunch of diagnosing real quick because like my microphone was looping back through my loopback system that I'm using to get direct audio out, and so I had to diagnose it a little bit, and that's why I was like running a little late, but we got to figure it out, son. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I just want to kind of shoot the shit for a second, wait for people to get in here. I'm gonna do some quick promo. Yeah. Every 2 months? What? Dude, that's massive. Yo, let me know if I can ever come out for one of those. That'd be super sick, man. I would love to like join you guys. I got a show in Seattle the day after. What? Yo, that's sick. Where's the show at? Yo, I would love to come out in April and headline. Honestly, that would be super massive. I mean, if you're down for that. If not, it's totally cool either way. So, no hard feelings. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna hit somebody up real quick, and then we'll get started. Yeah, dude, April will be sick. I'm hella down to come out in April. That'd be fucking rad, bro. That'd be super rad. Ha, yeah, no, I feel that. Wow, that's yeah, no, man, I'm not about that life. And the thing is too is that if you guys do end up booking me for the event, what I can do is on my Feeding Back Tuesday stream, I can like post the event and like pin it in the comments, so I can give you guys like a spotlight section, so we can do promo like that, and like I can do that for like every week for the event up till, or like starting at the beginning of the month. So then that way it'll work out really well for like promo, and we can like get the word out, and get the word out to like all the followers that I have across the world, and kind of get some recognition. So yeah, I can definitely help out with that too. Definitely down. Are you? Yeah. What? Dude, we definitely have to hang out then. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're coming to Vegas, yeah, let me know. We can definitely hang out and kick it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm super down. All right. So I'm gonna give it like 2 more minutes, and then we'll kind of get into it, even though it's just kind of us. And then if anybody else is watching and like joining in, please leave a comment, say what's up, let me know where you're from and how's it going. Hopefully you guys are not like Eskimos yet. But yeah, this track from Deformaty and Lightspeed, like it's super cool. Oh yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to freeze all of this in the meantime while we're just kicking it. Yeah, because this is not going to be able to play while I'm streaming. Here, I'm just gonna unfreeze these and freeze everything at once. Yeah, so this track is actually really cool. I don't recommend this for anybody who gets a track from somebody and decides to mix and master it for them. But what I did is there was a few like elements and parts in the track where I felt like shouldn't be there, or like they just needed to be subtracted. So what I did is I made 2 versions. I made my edited version, and of course they're like small little things here and there, which throughout the stream I'll kind of point out what exactly I'm talking about. But I just kind of added, or I kind of subtracted like one thing here or there, and then like I felt like on the breakdown and needed like a sub drop, so I actually made a sub drop. And the reason why I say make 2 project files is so you can have the exact original one, and then the one you edited, you can send that back to the artist as well, and you can be like, hey man, like personal preference, kind of like putting my own like spin on the mix and master. I made these small little edits. Here's what it sounds like. If you guys like it, you guys can use this file, or you guys can use the exact original file that you guys sent me. Because like I said, it wasn't nothing huge, but I definitely felt like there was like a part or two where there definitely needed to be another element. So I just kind of like created something small. But it's nothing drastic, and obviously since you guys are watching, when I go over it, if you guys are cool with it, we can roll with it. If not, then we can just like use the exact original project file, and then I can kind of subtract everything. So it's not a big deal. But this track was actually really challenging for me because I don't do a lot of house. And the thing is like these guys, they have like 13 bass patches just for their drop alone, and it's super cool. It's very expressive, and EQing and placing all of them accordingly inside the mix and making sure all the levels are correct. It was very challenging, and when I start to go through it, I think it'll start to make a lot of sense, and then you guys can hopefully apply it in your production as well, your post-production. Yo, Trevor, what's up, homie? Yo, Trevor, I haven't checked out your EP that you released today, but that's super sick. Big ups, dude. Much love on that. And, yeah, dude. Yeah, great work on that, dude. So yeah, so freezing right now, and after it's done freezing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the track all the way through, or, you know, whatever, and then so you guys can hear it, and then we can start dissecting what I did. And there's a few things that I did on this that are kind of unorthodox that I don't usually do, but since they had like the electro step kind of vibe, I felt like it needed some out of the ordinary post-processing, and I think it sounds pretty wicked. But I started this last night, and then I tweaked it this morning, and I still might have ear fatigue from it, but I think I found a good common ground. And if you guys hear anything, if you guys like, oh, yo, those hats should be lower or higher, or like, yo, that bass patch right there should come up or down, anything, just go ahead and shoot it to me. Let me know what's up and what you guys think as well. The EP has definitely gone well. I appreciate it. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and Trevor, let's talk afterwards. I want to help you do a little bit of promo on that. For free, because I got you and you're my boy, so I want to help give back, and yeah, I'll help you out with some promo for that, because we need to like push that shit, because it's so good. Walkway learning from, hey, yo, that's sick, dude. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's why I like doing these, is especially for this project. It's a great example that like you'll see if you have the things like I keep saying the word unorthodox, but like I can't really think of any other word to describe like the kind of approach that I took on some aspects. So yeah, and that's what it's all about. It's about like watching other people and learning other people's like styles and like hints and tricks, and yeah. And then, man, I wish I could like freeze my master channel. That'd be so sick. I heard you can do that in Fruity Loops. Like, you can freeze everything. Huge learning curve. And the thing is like, no matter how good you are, like, we're all still students. You know what I mean? Like, that's the cool thing about, like, making art and shit, is that we're all still learning. No matter how good you think you are. That's why whenever I see somebody work, I just shut the fuck up and I just watch what they do and why they do it. And usually it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely hate Ableton. It's a harsh word to say, but I do not like Ableton at all. I just personally don't like the workflow. Like, it's not convenient for me to work in. So, yeah, I don't like it. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of user preference. That's all it is. But, damn, dude, yeah. So this track is still freezing. So that just goes to show, like, how much processing I put into it. And then after that, I'm going to freeze my 2 bus channels right here. And, yeah, dude, I can't wait to show you guys this. Yeah, dude, and, yeah, yeah, user preference. That's all it comes down to. Bling blow. Dude, I swear to God, my mom's, like, my biggest fan. It's so funny. It's like whenever I post something, she'll like repost and she'll be like, oh, my son is doing this and blah, blah, blah. And like, it's the funniest thing ever. She's always like the first one to share my shit. It's great. Shout out to all the moms out there. You can always learn new things. Some people. Yeah, I heard about Acid Pro. I haven't actually looked into the fundamentals and like the layout of it. But I guess it sounds pretty cool. And if it works for you, like, that's all that matters, dude. As long as it works for you, nothing else like is relevant. All right. This is almost done buffering. I'm gonna play you guys some freaking sweet elevator music. I love jazz, dude. And also, if anybody's checked out my my release on yesterday, I released like a hybrid melodic drum and bass tune. Let me know if you guys ever checked that out and what you guys think about that. Damn, it's old school like that? Shit. Mom, you gotta follow me on SoundCloud, okay? Like, come on. Every follower helps. You know what'd be funny? As if like your mom had more followers on you. That'd be hilarious. Sick, sick. And then you'd be like begging your mom for reposts. Like, Mom, come on, man. Just like repost my track, homie. Like, come on, I did the dishes. I'll go wash your car. You know, like, just repost my track, homie. Yo, John Dog. What up, homie? We're about to get right into it. I'm just freezing these tracks so I don't, like, absolutely destroy my computer CPU. And then as soon as it's done freezing, we're going to jump straight into it. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Sorry for all the blabbering. It's just that this track has a lot on it, so it's taking a while to freeze. Ma, the repost! She's like, no, you didn't do your chores today or some shit. You know, that would be super sick too. Like, if I, like, oh, yo, okay, check this out. If I ever become a father, I'll definitely still be like making music and shit, and my son or daughter will definitely be an artist due to my genes. And, you know, they'll be, like, in high school, and they'll be like, yo, Pops, can I get that repost? I'm like, yo, nah, man, like, you didn't do the dishes yesterday. You backsassed your mom. I had to lay your ass out. You know, I can't, nah, man, you're, like, basically grounded. No repost for, like, 2 weeks. And then they'll be like, yo, come on, man, for real, like, let me just, and I'll be like, nah, man, not until you learn how to behave, do the dishes, and, you know, respect your mother. No repost. That'll definitely be me and my child. All right, let me just freeze these up real quick as well. See, the little, why the freak? I thought I did this yesterday, and I had my buses frozen, and I was like, what? I can freeze my buses? That's sick. But apparently, nope, it's not a thing. Okay, all right, let's get straight into it. I'm gonna just play from the start, and then we can kind of just hear it, and yeah, just start vibing with it, get a feel for the track. Shout out to Deformaty and Lightspeed. This is actually their track Starfucker, which is unreleased, and they gave it to me just for this stream. So mad shout out to them. Respect. Yeah, exactly. Finish your triggerometry. Yeah. Yeah, it's super sick. Big ups, you guys. This like arrangement and sound design is freaking insane. It's off the wall. Great work, great work. Oh, yo, shout out to the wife in the building. Yeah. Yeah, good job for pushing each other, dude. It turned out very well. Okay, so that's kind of like where I'm at right now with the track. Listening to it now, I would want to make an arrangement on the master EQ and maybe bump down this like 400 area is just kind of a little bit muddy still, so I'm just going to make a small little bump down right there. Okay, so that's the track. It's super sick, and the thing is too is that they sent me a reference, and the thing is that I mastered it, and it's just as loud as the reference, but it still has tons of dynamic. And I know this is house, and you're usually like crushing the signal of house because you want as loud as possible, but I think I found a good medium between loud and then keeping it very versatile and dynamic as well, because I really wanted, you know, like for the drop, they have like all these bass patches right here, like all of those, all the green ones, those are all bass patches in the drop. And if I would have just brick wall limited the master, they would all just sound leveled and then distorted. And I wanted them to kind of be tiny bit louder and like this and that here and there throughout the drop, so that it shows dynamic in the drop and that it's not just all the same signal the whole time. So I think I found a good balance between loudness and dynamic for this track, and it was very, very what's the word? Challenging. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get to that. OTT on the master channel. Yep, exactly. We'll get to that. That's what I'm saying. This one I went a little unorthodox with. Okay, so let's start at the top of the chain. Claps. Okay, so for these claps, right off the bat, what I'm doing with them is that they aren't entirely mono. They're like 0.20% away from being completely mono. I wanted a little bit of width because I wanted to make room for the kick, because the claps and the kick are usually hitting at the same time. So I kind of wanted a little bit of width so that they would have their own structure and place inside the mix. Everything from 220 and down, I scooped out some of this mud right here at 500, and then I peaked up at 5K. Because that's usually where most of the information is in claps. And then I gave it a shit ton of transient. And also, check this out. I also have the claps peaking. So if you look right over here, the claps are actually peaking +2. Like that's usually what it's peaking at, is at +2. and I have no limiter on afterwards for the clap. And the reason why I did that is because whenever you peak things, it creates transients. So even though I made my transient over here for the clap so that they're really snappy, when I did that +2 over here on the peak, it added just emphasis on the transient. So now they're just really sharp, and now I know for sure they're going to cut through on the mix. Yeah, I just thought that it kind of just worked. You know, there's no real rule of thumb. Generally, it's if it sounds good, then it is good. So that's one of the things I did out of the ordinary for this one. I sometimes do that for my snares too, on like my dubstep or like really heavy bass tracks. I actually peak it like +4 because it increases the transients on the waveform. So yeah, other than that, just a little bit of saturation, subtle compression. And that's about it for that. And then I sent it to my bus that has my Valhalla, just to give it a little bit of depth and room. And then I also sent it to a bus as well that we'll talk about here in a second. Let's see, which bus was it? Bus 4? Yeah, and the reason why I sent it to a bus is because I'm actually sidechaining my kick to the claps. Let's take a look at the kick. So the kick is directly mono, and boop 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 boop. Okay, here we go. And then so I cut like, yeah, I'm gonna bring this back to like 40 and down. I did a high pass up to 40 hertz, and the reason why I did that because it had too much bass into it, and it was just fighting for room with the bass line on the drop, even though like they're side chained together. It just sounded like muddy and just not really well at all. So I ended up scooping out 40 hertz and down. I did a pretty severe cut on 500 because the sample that they used it just had a lot of mid information that just didn't sound good to me at all. And then I did a low pass up to 1K and it's 6 dB slope. And the reason why I went up to 1K too is because like I wanted to leave a little bit of high end in it, because I felt like it just helped with the transients and like poking through and cutting into the mix. And then also sent that to my reverb as well, just a little bit. I didn't really want too much reverb on it. And then also what I did is I sidechained the claps to my kick, so you can actually see it here in action. So it's just a little bit of duck, so that whenever my clap hits, the kick will kind of duck just a little bit, just to bring more room for the clap to like poke out in the mix. Yeah, wait, are you dropping kicks down? Yes, exactly. So whenever the clap hits, the kick ducks. So that's what I did. So I sent signal from my clap to a bus, and then on the kick I pulled up my compressor and I sidechained it to the clap, so whenever the clap hits, the kick will duck just a little bit, so then that way they're not really like phasing or masking at all, and it's giving room inside of the mix. Yo, Brastick, what up, boy? So yeah, so I usually do that on house tracks, or like on dubstep when there's like a kick snare with a kick kind of thing. I usually just sidechain them together, or else you're going to get some like horrible phasing issues. The hats, dude, I actually really like the hi-hats that they use for this, and I feel like I got them pretty damn crispy. Another thing too of these hats is that they're not, sorry guys, they're not completely mono either, so it's 0.14 away from being exactly in the center. Yeah, exactly, light sidechain. It's a very subtle light sidechain, exactly. So the hats aren't completely mono because I wanted to make room for the kick. I want the kick to have that main element, that main spot right there in the center. So I kind of pushed it out just a tiny bit. And then another thing I did with the hi-hat is I actually panned it 0.1 or -1 to the left. So now I'm giving additional room for my kick and my snare. And then the same thing I scooped up to 3.5K, and then everything from 13K and up, I scooped out. It's just high end, doesn't need to be there, and it was just kind of like masking with the other elements, and then just subtle compression, a little bit of saturation, nothing crazy. But yeah, I wanted up to like 3.5K. I didn't really want any other information there because I want that primary information to be dedicated for the base patches on the drop. I just kind of wanted the high-end sparkle, and I even like gave a slight little bump at 8K because that's still bright to the ear, but it's not overwhelming. So I usually bump up like 8K on my hi-hats, and then I made a little duck right here at 5K because it was just a really bad frequency that just needed to be scooped out. Same thing with the kick is that my hi-hats are sidechained to the snare. Do you have all the UAD plugins? I'm pretty sure I do. Perhaps. I think the UAD plugins are like stock with Apple, or UAD is like completely different product. I don't know. Please educate me. But yeah, so I just sidechained the snare or the clap to the hi-hat, so whenever the claps hit, the hi-hats duck because they're just phasing, and the primary driving forces for house is your kicks and your snares, so you want to make sure shit is always sidechained to those. Moving on, yeah, if you guys have any questions about what I'm doing and why, please let me know. What's the difference between mono and stereo? Mono means one, stereo means two. So they call it a stereo system for a reason. So like if you like growing up, your parents would be like, oh, like go turn down the stereo. Well, stereo, they always have two speakers, left and right. So stereo means two, mono means one. So your kicks and your percussions should ultimately always be mono, especially your kicks and snares. They have to be dead in the center, because if you pan them out, they lose transient and they lose hit and impact. And plus too, like if you ever go to a concert and you see a band, the drum set is always set up in the middle, and there's a specific reason for that. It's like the fundamentals of like production, pretty much. So yeah, so like kick, snares, hi-hats, all that shit, you usually want to keep mono in the center, and then everything else kind of fills out around it. So yeah, okay. Moving on. Wait, here, let me catch up in the chat. Okay, yeah, moving on. The crash, just kind of simple stuff. And actually what I did to this too is oh yeah, and the hats are also going to my reverb. Everything on like all these channels are going to my reverb, and I dictate, some of them have more or less, but the hats, I really wanted to have a lot of like reverb in them, so it's going up -16 amount. The crash. So for the crash, I gave it a shit ton of reverb. We can check out my EQ. And then, yeah, basically same thing as the hi-hat. Kind of just scooped up to like 3K, 15,000 and up, scooped out, minor compression. But most importantly, what I did is I added a delay onto the crash so it can kind of like echo and ring out. So like on the breakdown, when the crash would hit, it would kind of just like echo away, and it would make it sound a lot bigger and more full. See, it's not much at all, but it's just enough to kind of just like, when in context, it just bleeds off of the rest of everything else. So about 30% wet. That's it. Not much, 1/4. And then compressor, because I am sidechaining my kick to my crash. So when the kick happens, the crash kind of ducks and allows room for the kick to like cut through. So yeah. And like here, let me see. And even right here, how they have the reversed hat, I think it sounded really good with the delay as well. So see how it like bleeds off into the distance? And for the breakdown, that made like a huge impact too, because it really carried out the atmosphere. So it just kind of like leaks away, and I just thought it sounded really good, instead of just like that, the sweep coming up and then just cutting immediately, and then it just like breaks off. So transitions, like I just wanted to add some delay to put some emphasis on the transition. Yep, Kyle, you tell him what I have, bud. You know more about me than a lot of people. So yeah, you know like my whole layout actually. Fills. The fills were cool. I actually didn't do any stereo imaging on them at all because some of the hits are in mono and some of the hits are in stereo. So I want to leave them as is, and I threw them to my reverb bus and put it up -13 just so they have like, just so they can sound big and full. 150 hertz and below I cut out. Did a little bump up at 6K and then just kind of scooped out some of the mud because it just had a little bit of mud in it. And that's pretty much it for the fill. Yeah, and then like with the reverb on it, it just kind of drowns out. It just sounds like nice and natural. All right, so what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to refreeze those elements. And then we'll start getting into like the leads and the melodies and the synths and all that good stuff. If you guys have any questions, again, please feel free to ask while I'm doing this. If you guys have any concerns or whatnot. Also, thank you guys for like kicking it with me and checking this stuff out. This track was like super fun to like mix and master because it's just so different. Big ups to you guys too. And at the end of the day too, if you guys don't like my mix and master, you guys don't have to use it at all. Like by any means. Like I can delete it. I can delete the project file. So no worries. No offense. Nothing. It's all good either way. So yeah. Do you recommend a keyboard or make melodies? Why not? Yeah, definitely get a keyboard. I have my, what is this, like a 23? Wait, 25? Yeah, 25 key. It's not much, but I use this whenever I want to like plot out melody schemes and, you know, just kind of like dabble around with making chords, especially with making chords, because if you have a MIDI in front of you and you're able to like play some chords out real quick, it helps out a lot, and in the long run it expedites the process a lot faster. And plus, getting a MIDI is going to make you learn musical theory, and that's what I recommend to any artist. Like, I'm not the best at musical theory, but like being on a piano and just like figuring out chords and my scales, and it's just a lot more fun. It's a lot more engaging, so I highly recommend it for sure. All right, let's get into this ARP. Here, I'm going to play it over here because it's actually a lot louder over here. But this ARP is super cool. It has so much going to it. It's sick. What method do I learn? Some things sound better on a different system. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that like I did a compare and contrast. I mixed it on my monitors and then I checked it in my headphones and I went kind of back and forth. But ultimately, like, you're not going to know how good it sounds until you play it in a car or play it at a show. So that's kind of like the overall kind of term. What method do you use for, learning your skills. Learn your skills. That's going to be the greatest part to start for mixing and mastering, or I mean for like production. So this ARP was actually super fun to do. What I did is so I cut up to 420, did a little duck right here at 500, and then I kind of boosted at 1K, and I kind of ducked down the rest. The reason why I ducked down the rest and did these kind of these cuts is because, for one, it was too bright up here, and then for two, it was phasing with my snare, and for some of the other elements in the track that I wanted to stand out a little bit more. So I kind of ducked it down right there so that the other elements in the track would have more room and be like more upfront in the mix. Subtle compression, just kind of gluing it all together, and then minor saturation on the end, just warm and warm. And then I also pulled it in 0.90, pulled it in mono just a tiny bit. And I added a delay. So it's at 1/8 dotted, and it's only at 35% wet. And I felt like that filled up the ARP a lot more. It gave it more depth instead of it just being super dry. So you guys can kind of hear it with and without. Like that by itself sounds cool and big, but with a little bit of delay, like you can barely hear it, but it just kind of adds up and fills it out a little bit more. Yeah, so just a little bit of delay, just kind of like fill it all up. I thought it sounded good, and of course, like I did it in moderation, 30%. Like honestly, I'll probably bring it down to like 25%, just a little bit, nothing noticeable. Like if you weren't listening to it, and then I sidechained that to the kick. So whenever the kick hits, that ARP will duck, and giving it shit tons of reverb, sending it to my bus. This is without the reverb. Yeah, so that's without, and then this is with. So it just gives it so much depth. So yeah, that ARP was super fun. And then let's go ahead. So this stem that they gave me. Here, actually, I want to do this one first. So this stem actually has like 3 different other synths in it, and then it breaks down right here into like different synths and everything, and then it builds up again. And then like you start to hear like these super saws start to come in. Yo, what up, Tiger? See, yeah, hear those super saws? So this one was really hard to EQ, and what I actually ended up doing to thicken it up is I made a duplication of itself, and we'll get into the main one right now. So yeah, so I ducked at 500, a little bit at 3K because it was just like super ear piercing, and then I did a cut 14K and up, and then that's kind of it for this one. Just little kind of small ducks here and there because it just had like tons of bad frequencies. And the thing is that there's 3 different synths inside of this one stem, so I was very limited to what I could do. And since I was cutting so much out, it started to sound really thin. So then my next conclusion was to duplicate it, make this one quieter, and then I did some serious cuts. 6K and up, everything's out. 460 and down, everything's out, and then like bell curves at like 2K, 1K, 500, and then 6K. The reason why I ducked all those down is because if I would have duplicated this track, it would be fighting for the same room for the main sample one. So I had to make all these ducks in order for it to like not phase with the other one, and then I duplicated them because I just wanted it to be more full. Without. See, it just sounds too thin by itself, so that's why I decided to duplicate it. Oh, and as well, I put a delay on it, 1/4, 20%, just so it can kind of ring out and like fill itself up a little bit. And then on the one that I duplicated, I actually added a little bit more saturation, which I'm using the soft tube for. And it just gives it like a nice like analog kind of bite to it. So since I was cutting out all the EQ, like I was EQing a lot of the frequencies out, I figured a good way to kind of get them back and make them more harmonic was to give it a little bit of saturation. So I just applied a little bit. And then another cool thing that I did, which is like a spin-off, not sure if they're going to like it, and even if they don't, then I can remove it immediately. But I added a tremolo. And what the tremolo is doing is it's making a delayed effect, so it's ping-ponging left and right. And I put it right at the end where the buildup is. So you guys can kind of hear it right here. So you hear how it's like wiggling back and forth. And honestly, when it's in contrast with the mix, you really can't tell. And the reason why I want to tremolo it is so I can make it bounce back and forth, and then I can give room in the mix to other elements that are like really building the track up. So by these moving left and right, it's creating a lot of room, and subconsciously is making you more engaged, because you wouldn't know it's there unless you were told it's there, but your subconscious is definitely picking it up. So let's hear it in context. Yeah, I just thought it added just a little bit more character to the track, and it just really helped with the build up, especially like right here when it kind of dies down and it's like going back and forth and then slowly going into the middle. Oh no, I just thought it gave it just a little bit extra flair, and it just kind of spiced it up a little bit. So I did that for every end where the build-ups are at. And yeah, I just thought it just gave it a little bit more sauce. So yeah, if you guys like it, cool. If not, then I can take it off for you guys too. Yeah, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to freeze these one more time, and then we'll get into the lead, which the lead is super fucking cool and a great idea. Big ups on you guys. Yeah. And importantly too, like on your build-ups, everything is going at once and everything is fighting for the same room. So as soon as you can kind of create some like depth room within the build-up, it's going to sound a lot more clean, and it's not going to sound brick-walled, and it's not going to sound like everything is squishing itself together. Since the main two synths right here that I duplicated, they're so heavy in the build-up that it's kind of like taking up all that room. I want that room to be taken up by the snares, the kicks, or like the gradual, you know, uplifter effect, whatever it may be. So that's why I decided to tremolo it and then make them bounce, so I can create that atmospheric room by still keeping the element in there. So yeah, tips and tricks. And I just thought it sounded cool too, especially like how it rings off for that last bar right before the drop hits. And like, I just feel like it just builds a little bit of anticipation, because people like hear it and they're like, oh shit, that's tight. And then like it drops, and then they're like, oh fuck, this is tight. So like, it's all tight, you know what I mean? All right, let's get into this lead. This lead was super cool. Great idea. Now, what you're probably thinking is that this lead sounds super thin. And you're right, because I made it that way so it can fit inside of the mix appropriately, and so it wouldn't phase with the other bass elements. So right off the bat, I put just a tiny bit of delay, 1/8, 20%, just to kind of fill it up a little bit more. And then most importantly, what you'll see here is that I made a huge cut at 2K. I cut all the way up to 600, did a little downslope right here, 6K to -2 dB, and then 12K and up, nothing's there. So I'm just working with this small little frequency space. And the reason why I ducked right here, most importantly, is because a lot of the bass patches and the snares were coming through right here, and I wanted this to ride in the background. I wanted this lead element to be in the background while all the cool bass patches were going on. And in order for it to sit properly and not phase with the other patches, I kind of had to EQ it severely like this. And like the original sample just had like tons of saturation in it. Some of the harmonics are just peaking way too hard. And I think actually on this band what I did is a dynamic EQ. So you'll see some of the frequencies build up, and once they get too high, the bell curve will actually pull it down a lot harder. Yeah, and you guys have that on your FX for the build up too, and it slowly pans left and right, and that's super sick, because it, I don't know, it just creates like this cool contrast to the buildup, and it's very engaging, because as your elements are building up in the middle, you have this really cool synth that's panning left and right. And I honestly, I don't think I've heard anybody do that yet, and that's super cool. So that, what you guys did for that was sick, and we'll get to that here in a second. So yeah, so it's a very EQing, a little bit of compression, just to kind of like glue it all together, and just tiny bits of saturation, because the sample is already saturated a lot and the harmonics were kind of just like insane. And then, of course, sidechaining it to my kick so it ducks, and then throwing it some reverb, a good amount of reverb. And then this is it in context. And also, too, for these synths, the ones I duplicated, I panned one -4 to the right and then +4. So one's kind of panned left and right. So it just gives a little bit more room. So they're not fighting for the same space if they're in the center. Cuts down on air fatigue. Oh, no, that's sick. I didn't even know that. But yeah, and now listening to the mix throughout this tutorial, I'm going to make some minor adjustments because I feel like some of the bass patches in the mix need to be like a little bit higher and some need to be lower. So we'll gradually do that as well too, and we kind of look at them all together. The bass lines are super simple. So when they sent me this stem, it actually had some low end in it for the breakdown. I actually want to do a small EQ on this real quick because something just does not sound appealing. And it sounds like it's almost phasing. Yeah, it's much better. I'm going to bring down, I brought down that bell curve a little bit because it sounded like it was fighting for the same frequency as the main one. Yeah, it sounds better because now they're just, since they're layered, I have to make one the main and the one in the background to kind of just fill it up. That the drum fills have some low end since the kick is dropped out. Yeah. And I didn't know if I wanted to leave the low end on the fills or not. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just kind of sounded a little bit better without. So then you can have that split second where, because you use them on like the last bar of like every eighth. So I think not having that bass right there, it sounded good for like not having the bass for a split second, and then it jumps back in with the bass line, and then it keeps it pumping again. Giving your audience a break from the bass line here and there makes it it makes the bass line have a bigger impact whenever it does come in. So I duplicated the synth sample, and then I just kind of EQ'd the shit out of it, and just kind of pulled, like, I think it was 100 up is like out. Yeah, everything to like 100 is pulled out. I compressed the shit out of it because it was just way too dynamic, and I wanted it to kind of be steady throughout the breakdown. And then just a tiny bit of saturation. Actually, I'm actually going to turn that saturation off because I just wanted to be clean, sine wave kind of bass line. Why is that distorting? Okay, so there's definitely some artifacts right here that we got to check out for a second. Maybe the compressor? It's hitting the limiter a little too hard. So I'm going to keep my compressor on. I'm going to keep compressing it and then just pull down the limiter a little bit. Yeah. There we go. And it's like muddy low end too. And the thing is I didn't want to cut out the low end completely for like this whole 16 bar part because I feel like there should be some kind of low end. So even though it's like super muddy, I did my best on EQing it and kind of just keeping it in there along with the mix. And then of course I threw it all the way mono, so it's dead in the center. And then I just threw a little gain on it. And then a compressor as well, which is going to actually nothing. because I wanted to compress it to the kick, but there's like no kick action in here whatsoever, so I guess I'll just turn that off too. I was going to mention that. Yeah, because you don't want to have bass the whole time, or else it's going to make it like, all right, if you get blowjobs your whole life, then whenever you get a blowjob, it's probably not going to be really appealing, right? So it's the same with music. If you're hearing an ARP the whole time, then it's not going to make it appealing to where if you hear it in segments, or like if you hear it for a little bit and then it goes away, and then you get a quick break, and then it comes back, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, that's the ARP again. Yeah, that shit's cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's write it. So it's kind of the same with like music, I think. Moving on. So right here, I thought it should have a sub drop. That do. And when they sent me the track, the stems, it didn't have anything right there, and I just felt like when I heard it, I was like, okay, I expected something. I expected there to be some kind of drop, so it can just like break down, because this is where the buildup happens. And I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna make a sub drop real quick, and if they like it, they like it, and if they don't, I can just take it away. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You want to tease them a little bit. So I made this sub drop in Serum. What I did is, instead of sidechaining it to my kick, I went to my attack and I just delayed it. I'm actually going to delay it like 30 milliseconds. So then that way when it hits, my kick can actually come through right here. And this is basically like a sidechain, or what's that plugin called? Volume Shaper. This is pretty much exactly what it is. So I just left a little room right here for my kick. It's a straight sine wave. And then what I did to get it nice and cool like that is I took my envelope and then I signed it in my matrix, and I signed it to my master tune, so it's going bipolar. If it would have just went polar, it would have sounded like this. Right, and that's not what I want. I want it to start from one end and go up and then back and forth kind of shit. And then I brought it up to 30. So it's like, so it kind of builds down. So that's why I decided to make it bipolar. And I felt like that just gave a lot more context right here for this this slight breakdown part. So right, like it just gave it that extra, yeah. And I figured you guys like probably would have forgot about it or something, so I was like, okay, no big deal, like I'll just kind of add this in real quick. And like as a mix and master engineer, or try to be amateur engineer, fuck, you kind of want to like add emphasis here and there, but it's super important to let your customer know, or let whoever you're working with know, like, hey, I did this right here, like, are you cool with it? Okay, cool. If not, whatever. So yeah, and if you are doing shit like that, just do it in moderation. Like over here for the hi-hats, they had the hi-hats writing out for the last 2 bars right here. Right, and when they had the hi-hats right here, for one, it was starting to phase with the sound they had right here, and I felt like cutting it out, so just the claps are right there, would really help transition into the next phase. So I made that little edit. I just took them out on the last part of the drop right there, and I did the same on the other side. So if you guys are cool with that, I can kind of play it out so you can kind of hear it and get a feel for it. I just felt like taking out those hats right there, just so it just claps, just helped it roll over really well into the next phase. So that's the only other like small edit that I made. The bass lines are simple, you know, completely mono, and then on the EQ I went down to like 200 hertz. So low pass to 200 hertz. Everything else I took out because there's a lot of harmonics in the bass line, and I felt like they're kind of fighting for the room with the bass patches, and I didn't really want that. I wanted the bass patches to have that prominent room, because that's where the growls really stand out. And I felt like the bass line and the growls were kind of fighting for each other. So I was like, okay, which one's more important? People hearing the bass line or people hearing the growls? So for me personally, I decided to EQ it so that the growls and the bass patches could stand up front instead of literally hearing the bass line instead of feeling it. So that was just user preference as well. And I did the same for this bass line as well. So if you guys want, I'll actually show you guys the EQ that I made on it, just so you guys can kind of get an idea. The last two bars, just removing the hats, so like you're removing an element, so it's kind of like a progression before your next phase. So when I was listening to it, to me as a listener, it just sounded like it just sounded right. And as a producer too, it's all about progression and kind of subtracting things before your next phase, and that's what helps with a clean phase transition. So I don't know. I just thought it sounded right. If you guys don't like it, that's totally cool too, and I can make it back to normal. So cutting up to 200. And I mean, like at first they're like kind of out here. And so like all that harmonic, like I don't really want that, because that's going to fight for room with my bass patches, and it's just going to muddy up the mix. And actually I think I'm going to make that like a 24 dB as well. So it's just nice, clean, kind of like slightly distorted bass to it. And so what that's going to do is ultimately in the long run, it's going to give me a lot more room to mix and master my track, because I don't have all that extra frequency range right there fighting for the same spot. So yeah, so let's do that 200. Okay, cool. Moving on. We removed the kicks. It might have just been an oversight. Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're getting into tracks that are so in depth like this, and you have like all this shit going on, it's so easy to oversee something. And that's why people say it's good to have other people mix and master your music, because you get a fresh pair of ears on it. They're hearing it for the first time, and they can really pinpoint exactly like, okay, maybe this shouldn't be there, maybe, so on and so forth. And that's why I do my Feeding Back Tuesday podcast too, is because we really just need a second pair of ears sometimes. All right, so one of the fucking coolest part about this track, let's get into the drop. I'm actually going to solo all these. Actually, I'm going to freeze these tracks real quick. And yeah. Questions, comments, concerns. How you guys feeling about this? Do you guys think I should make any adjustments? Do you think, like, yeah, if you guys hear anything that I don't, and you guys have a recommendation or a suggestion, dude, please let me know in the chat, and we can play with it and do whatever, because like nobody knows more than anything about anyone, something that, yeah. Anyways, thanks for kicking it with me. Overall though, this track was like super dope and hella fun. I hope you guys find like a label to release this on, because that'd be super wicked, because it's definitely up to standard. And then also too, if you guys ever get someone else to mix and master, or if you guys mix and master it again, send me the mix and master, because I would love to hear your guys' spin on it, because everybody's style and preference is different. Like especially like with the lead, like how I did all those like big bell curve cuts and everything. I did that because I wanted to kind of be in the background and not have much like thickness to it, because I still wanted the bass patches to come out. So, and like somebody probably would have done that backwards. So it really just depends. All right. Okay, let's get into this drop, which is freaking insane. Big ups on the sound design too, by the way, fellas. Like, your guys' sound design is very exceptional. Are you guys using Massive, Serum, or like what are you guys doing? How are you guys making your sounds? Dope. I hope it sounds good in the studio. And the thing is, again too, is that like when I bounce it to a wave and I send it to you guys directly, and you guys are hearing it not through a stream, I think it'll sound a lot better too. But if anything sounds muddy, if there's like a certain frequency that's sticking out, please let me know. I'm not sure what monitors you guys are on, so the specs could be different, it could sound different. I'm using the JBLs right now. I don't know if you guys have like Yamahas or Adams, whatever you guys got, but it could sound a lot different. Okay, and actually hearing it now, I'm actually just going to solo the whole drop, and I'm just going to go to my mixer and just kind of look at everything and just kind of listen to it and maybe make some minor adjustments in volume. I actually want to bring these up a little bit. Sick. Okay, I think that sounds pretty good. Obviously, they're all getting shit tons of reverb. I'm sending them all to my reverb bus, and we can kind of just break them down one by one. And what I also did too with like a lot of these sounds, a lot of them are panned left and right and left and right and just a little bit more left and a little bit more right. And the reason why I did that is because I felt like if they're all centered in the stereo spectrum, it would sound like there's just a lot of shit going on. And I felt like if I panned a few sounds left and right throughout the track, then it's going to make it like a lot more engaging, because like you'll hear something in the center, and then you'll hear something from the right, and then from the left, and then from the left, and then from the right, and then from the center. And I feel like just utilizing the whole like stereo spectrum would really make a huge impact for the drop. And so, like, the things that are panned, like, they're just panned a little bit. It's nothing crazy. And honestly, you probably wouldn't even know they are panned unless I told you. So, like that sound. I want to pan that a little bit more, actually. Yeah, so see how much like is going on left and right, and it doesn't have to be huge pans either. Like it can be like subtly, it can be like a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and vice versa. And I did it strategically because like I did it so like every other hit there's one in the center, and then after that it's going to the right and to the left, and then kind of vice versa. So I feel like it added like a lot of depth, and it made it even more engaging. And the thing is when you pan things like that, you're giving them their own spot and their own shine. And since there's so much shit going on in this drop, which is totally cool, but if it was all in the center kind of, I feel like it'd be extra hard to pay attention to what's going on. Especially how like some sounds overlap each other, like these three. That's why I definitely was like, okay, I'm definitely going to pan this one to the right, this one to the left, and then the one that I want to be up front is going to be in the center. So that way you're creating space in the mix as well. Serum, massive. Oh, dude, yeah. You're on that resample game. That's what's up. Yeah, dude, tons of layering. I can tell, man. These patches sound actually really good. Grab a piece, reverse, and plug it and see. Yeah, no, that's actually super sick too. Reversing a noise. What? Dude, you guys are like plugged up on samples. Yo, let me get a pack, homie. Shit, let me resample your samples, and then you guys can resample my samples that I resampled from you, and then we can just kind of keep the train running. That'd be rad. And then this sound right here, why? Like that just still sounds so thin to me. I'm gonna open this up a little bit. All right, let's see. Maybe bring back some of the mid. Probably bring this back a little bit more. There we go. That sounds a little bit better. I just feel like maybe I'm just cutting too much out in this mid area and it's just kind of thinning it up. And then let's hear that in contrast with the other ones. Yeah. Okay, that sound right there. That one sounds pretty thin too. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that one as well. Oh, you guys are sharing me files right now. You guys are the shit. Ah! Love you guys. That's sick. Okay, so maybe let's subtract that dynamic a little bit, kind of tighten that up. Okay, so I think it just needs a little bit more right here at the 300. So let's go ahead and give a little bump right there. Yeah, there we go. Now it doesn't sound so thin. And then we'll hear it in context. Okay, so that and that. Okay, I want that one a little bit louder. Okay, and so what I did for like this EQ for this one, because the saws are going at the same time, I wanted this one to be up front. Like I wanted that one to be the main basis. And actually I'm going to pull this out just a tiny bit more too, because I kind of want a stereo. And then the ones that I'm layering behind it, actually I need to, let's see, imaging, directional mixer. I want to pull this in like 50. So it's like almost to mono, so that the main saw is on the outside and then the ones that are layering it are kind of on the inside. So it's going to give it a lot more depth as well. So let's hear that. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the sound up here. So these ones will be kind of like, since they're the layers, they'll be more in the center, and then the actual saw that's super big and heavy is going to be on the outside in stereo spectrum. I actually want to pull that out a little bit more stereo. Yeah, alright, let's hear that together. I'm actually gonna deduct the sidechain a little bit because I feel like it's ruining the volume, because I really wanted to cut through. So I'm gonna bring it down to -26 on the threshold for the sidechain for the kick. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. I'm actually just going to do a little bit less, maybe like -24. Yeah, that's fucking sick. I like that. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Someone will always make you feel like that. Don't worry, you probably make someone feel like a beginner as well. Yeah, no, dude, bro, I have no idea what I'm talking about. What, like, it's all good, homie. It's all good. And that's why I do these too, because like nobody taught me this. Like I had to learn this through like countless tutorials and just learning by myself. And it sucks because a lot of people aren't down to help people. And when it comes to music, if I can help you guys, like I'm by no means the best at what I do, but I feel like I know a little bit enough to kind of just like give some insight. And if I can help you guys perfect your art, like, dude, everybody fucking wins. The end goal is just to make music and get your shit out and perfect your craft. Okay, let's check out the EQ for this one. So I'm actually going to maybe cut down the mid bell curve a little bit, and then probably give a little bit more mid action over here, like 200. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that sounds sick. And then, yeah, you can hear, like, the reverb bleed off. Like, it's just, yeah. And I wanted to give a lot of reverb for the track, for the drop especially, so everything can kind of echo off. There's one thing that I did to one of the patches, though, that I do want to kind of show you guys. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this sound. So their nice, cool, like, ARP thing that they have. Let's see. Years of experience. No, you know, but then I realized that contribute. So keep your head up. No one can. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, honestly, like you're in the right place around the right people if you want to keep learning and like keep perfecting your craft, homie. Like everybody who's watching right now is like, they're on their shit. You know what I mean? I highly encourage you to talk to everybody because Yeah. Yeah, it's all about community. Okay, so this sound Rot Her. So this cool little ARP thing, what I did is, like, obviously I EQ'd it. Took out some of the mids, kind of scooped up to like 180. Actually, I'm gonna actually scoop up a little bit higher, because a lot of that information down there doesn't really need to be down there, because it's not really doing much to the overall sound. Yeah. Kind of duck down the highs. The highs are just a little too bright. Yeah. And then I'm actually going to pull up this bell curve a little bit and tighten it up. So this sound, what I wanted to do is I put a delay on it, 1/4, 30%. And what it does is I feel like it drifts off really well into the next sounds, and it adds like depth. So let's kind of hear it. Right, so it's like and like it slowly just kind of fades away, and I feel like it just rode in well with the rest of the sounds. If we take it out, let's hear it now. It just sounded like dry, and like how it immediately stopped, like it just kind of gave me a boner kill. So I decided to put on some delay and let it ring off into the other elements, because I felt like it was a lot more natural and like ambient in that sense. So yeah, that's what I did. And I actually want to look at this sound one more time too. I'm going to throw a correlation meter on there and make sure that it's not phasing. Let's see, metering, correlation meter. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so I also want to figure out why it sounds so thin. All right, so I'm going to bump up that bell curve at 500. Maybe bring this one up a little bit more too. Yeah, I like that. But is it overlapping any other sound? No. Okay, perfect. All right. Let's see. Sounds weird. Maybe it is like a little too muddy still. Maybe bring down 220. No, now it's losing its growl. Yeah, I think that might be a good median for it. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much the drop. The drop was just like, some of the sounds sounded way too mid-heavy, so I did like a lot of EQing on them to kind of just like cut them out and just make them sit well with the mix. My best recommendation for... Yeah, I used to use that stuff from... Still trying to meet people in the music industry as well, I think. Clog the mix with so much reverb and delay, but this makes me No, you're absolutely right, Alex. You're absolutely right, because the thing is that if you add too much reverb, everything's going to fight for that space, and it's taking up a lot of room. But the thing is like, here, for example, I'm going to solo all of this. Dude, it's honestly about finding the sweet spot. And I'm going to actually turn off my reverb. I'm gonna turn off the bus to the reverb. Like, it just sounds super dry. So like I mixed it in to the point to where I thought you can hear the reverb. It was filling up space, but it wasn't clogging up the space, because what you said is definitely valid. A lot of people apply too much reverb and it just takes up too much room. Your snare can't cut through, your kick can't cut through. So like that's a big deal. And that, like, you can even hear it bleed off. Like, that's what I want. I just wanted a little bit to fill up the room so it didn't sound too dry. But reverb is like make it or break it kind of shit. And so, yeah, let's get into the last element down here. This really cool effect that they have. It just pans left and right. I don't think I did anything crazy for this one. But I actually gave it a shit ton of reverb. Yeah, so. But let's hear this. Right. And I saw that too on the bass patches, like right here. I could see it. So like obviously there's some parts where you just want to cut out. And another thing too is like the subs are getting no reverb. I'm not sending that to my send at all because I just want them dry and just mono and just fucking there. Everything 100 and below, like basically no processing, nothing. So yeah, no, I definitely noticed that right there. This FX though. Yeah, so that shit's cool. And then obviously like you hear like the reverb bleeding off, and I have this sidechained to the snare. So every time the snares hit for the buildup, it kind of just ducks down and it gives it that cool pumping effect as well. Okay, so you guys said that there's small breaks and some of the bass patches actually needed that low end. So let's take a look at like right here where there's a dip. Let's see what sound it is. This one. So yeah, I guess I can like give low end to it. It's really up to you guys and how you guys want to do it, because like I said in the beginning, kind of just having spots where there's no low end makes it really engaging for your listener, because if it's just sub line and bass the whole time, it just kind of becomes dry. But that's personal preference. If you guys want, I can give this low end and then like take off the echo. And I gave it that echo because like I liked how it kind of bled off into the next phase, into the other sounds. And actually, I'm going to kind of bring that down maybe to like 20%, just so it's like a little bit of ring off. $50 more hertz. Yep. So does mine. Yeah. But like I make it a habit for me to just not put low end on any of my tracks. So like Valhalla, you can do your bass cut, and mine's actually going up to 760 hertz, and then my high is at 8,000. So everything below and above is all cut out anyways. But I just like to make it like habit to just kind of leave the bass lines dry. Okay, so this sound right here where the bass line cuts out, do you guys want me to put low end back in this sound? Because I can definitely do that. Not total low end. Yeah. So if that's something that you guys would want for like where your gaps are, like there's another gap right here, and then like this sound, we can add low end back to that. Let's hear what this one sounds like. Yep. Let's go ahead and pull this back and hear what it sounds like. Take away that high shelf. And then let's hear that in context. Actually, I think it does need a little bit more low end on the drop. So I'm going to bring up both subs 2 dB. Yeah, see, now it just sounds like a little too full. Me in the middle. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, now I mean, like now there's like tons of bass line in it. I think if I just did like a low EQ down here, let's go up to like 35, and I'll just kind of put a bell curve down here so I can kind of level out the bass, so it's just not like super crazy and overwhelming, and I can try and match the level of the original bass line. Let's do a little bit lower. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds good. Hey, you can feel the growl in your sub pack. Actually, let me know how this bass line sounds in your sub pack. Let me know if it sounds level with the rest of the mix too, because I don't have a bass pack and my sub is actually turned off right now because I'm using my headphones. So let me know how this sounds on your bass pack. Actually, let me know how loud, like how much this feels. And then this one. I think, yeah, these probably just have to come up a little bit more. Let's go to -11. So now it's peaking at -17, and let's hear that in the mix. Yeah, I think that actually sounds a lot more full for the breakdown. And I like too that we now added, what was it, this sound? Yeah, I like how we added low end to that too. And then we just kind of ducked down the volume. So now it sits like well in the mix, and now there's not too many choppy parts without bass line to them. Yeah, that sounds fucking sick. I feel like the drop was missing something, and it was the bass on the growl. Changes the character. It's all level. Sick. All right, cool. Yeah. Okay, so then, yeah, so now we introduce bass to that element, and I think, yeah, actually, I think it sounds a lot more full now. Let me go and skip over to this side. Let's hear this side now. And then where's the sound right here? And then let's actually give some bass to these sounds as well, because there's not a bass line right here for them, and I feel like if we actually introduce some low end back to this sound, I think that might be kind of fucking cool. Okay. I actually want to try adding the low end back to this sound real quick so we can kind of hear how it sounds. Okay, yep, agreed. 32 and below, let's cut it out. Okay, cool, and then we'll add a bell curve and just kind of cut that hoe. Cut it up. That might be a good start. Let's hear it in context. And then something sounds, maybe the lead is a little too thin. Let's hear this real quick. Yeah, I think I'm going to kind of bump up the bell curves on this and just kind of give it a little bit more width. Let's kind of drag this back a little bit. Maybe get it a little bit more high end. Too much high end. Okay, let's see how that sounds. More sidechain on this kick. Let's see, or on this bass line. Just want a little bit more, and it's starting to crunch a little bit too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decay the attack to 0.05. Let's go with -30. Turn the auto off, sidechain, ratio all the way up. Let's bring this down to like -36 threshold. way too much distortion. All right, so that's potentially coming from artifacts from the saturation that we've applied, which is none. Let's maybe take off that compressor. Let's see if this will help a little bit. Or dude, we're probably just squashing it a little too much. It's creating artifacts. Fuck, it's just crunching too hard if we push any harder. All right, negative 32. That's it. All right. Yeah, see, now it's starting to fucking, now the kick's starting to be drowned out. All right, so now we got to bring down this bass line a little bit. Let's go negative 11. Let's try negative 12. Negative 19, and let's see what the baseline is on the drop. Negative 15, Jesus. Let's go negative 10. Okay, so now it's at negative 16 for the volume for the one on the drop. Oh yeah, and so here's the other thing too. So like right here, you guys had the hi-hats all the way in. Yeah, let me unfreeze those. And the hi-hats just started speeding up for the last, what is this, 4 bars? Right, it sounded cool. But what I did is I subtracted the last 4 bars because it was starting to phase with the ARP. And they started to sound really muddy, and then it started to phase with the fast claps and snares that you guys had going on, and with the kicks going on at the same time. I just felt like it was too much shit, and like it was starting to clutter up the mix. So I decided to cut the last 4 bars of those hi-hats, so they kind of just end right there, so that the main attention can be on the claps and how they're accelerating, and the ARP, and then down here at the bottom your other FX lead as well. So. And then also too, let me know how the bass line is sitting with the mix and how it sounds to you guys. Is the bass line too loud? Is it just right? Does it need to come up a little bit? Let me know how it sounds to you guys, because to me right now it sounds like the bass line is a little too much in the mix. And I'm actually visually gonna look at it right here with my post-process EQ. And so I can visually see how loud it is, because like I'm using the Sennheiser, what are these? Yeah, the HD20s, and they're kind of flat, so I can't really tell what's what. So I'm going to pull up my post-process EQ, and I'm just going to have a visual look and see how high we're hitting over here on the low end. The cut is pretty smooth, hard to tell. It's hard to tell it's missing. It's probably mud. Yeah. It just there's just too much right there at the end because we're introducing more elements. So I just thought, like, let's make some room so they can kind of stand out and things won't get too squashed. Yeah, the bass line, oh, we are clipping over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn down my OTT a little bit, which we'll actually get into here in a second. Let's go to -8. So the baseline looks like it's actually kind of level. If anything, it can kind of come up a little bit more, but then I feel like I'll be squashing the signal on the limiter. But it looks like it's sitting at a reasonable place in the mix. Honestly, it could come up just a little bit more. So let's do that. So what is it at? -19? Yeah, that sounds sick. So now it's like kind of bass heavy. I'm going to recheck the drop too for the bass line and how loud it is. I'm going to look on my EQ, and then after we're done readjusting the bass line, I'm actually going to tone off on my limiter a little bit too, because now the bass line is starting to take up more room in the mix. I can actually hear it start to get like distorted and shit. So yeah. Okay, so I just heard something right here. Okay, that sound, that. I actually want to bring that up a little bit more and then check out the EQ I have on it because it sounds a little flat. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. If you guys have any suggestions, please feel free to let me know. Let me know. Yeah, let's kind of just beef out that bell curve a little bit and kind of bring it up. No dynamic. Why does it sound so flat? It could be the bass patch itself. Maybe you just need a little bit more unison. Maybe let's see what this band's doing. Let's actually turn this off. No. Yeah, no, it's just the sound itself. I could do some more EQing on it, but I feel like I don't want to find bad frequencies and start kind of just boosting it where it shouldn't be boosted. So I'm just going to bring up the volume just a tiny bit more, and then we'll hear it in the mix. Actually, oh, this sound is only used once, and it's back here. And I think it might sound kind of cool if we add a delay to it, so it can kind of bleed off into the next phase. Or into the next bass patch. Let's try 1/4, and we'll put the wet at like 20%. Let's hear how that will sound. Yeah, that's sick. All right, now let's hear it in context. Okay, that sound right there. What was that? Okay, the bass line is way too loud on that one, and it's kind of overpowering the other one. So let's kind of pull this bell curve out just a tiny bit more, and just it's at -11. Let's go like -12. Just needs a little bit more duck. Okay. And then bring up the sub just a tiny bit more. Let's go -9. So it's probably gonna level out at -15. And then actually too, I actually want to bring, let's see, do I want this sound to stick out in the mix, or do I want this one to stick out in the mix? Because I like this ARP. I feel like this ARP should be in front, and the one below it should be kind of in the back. It's pretty smooth. Hard to tell. It's hard to tell if it's missing. It's probably mud. So I'm agreeing. Okay. Let's hear how these two sound together. Probably bring this one up a little bit more. And then I want this one to come up just a tiny bit more. And the thing too I did like with this ARP is I actually pulled it more into the center. Actually, I'm going to pull it more in the center. About like right, we'll do like 0.70. Sick. Sick, sick, sick. Yeah. Yeah, sick. Okay, so now the saw thing, this FX saw thing is now more in the back, kind of giving it layer, and then the ARP is more up front. And then I also EQ'd this too, so that so like, because the ARP, a lot of the information is down here, and it's giving it like that nice rumble. And I actually want to pull this up a little bit more to like 1K. And a little duck up here, just so like the ARP can have more of that like higher end frequency. And then just a small tiny bump pad too, just so it kind of still sounds bright. Yeah, and now let's hear those two together. Shit tons of reverb. Love it. Maybe subtract this echo. I almost want to add like a delay to this drum fill too, just so it kind of like bleeds off. See, I wish I had like this lead right here. I wish I had like because it sounds like there's a pad and there's a super saw and probably one other element to it. I wish I can have like each individual layer, so I can like make the super saws like super bright, and then the pad like have the mid information, and then whatever like goes elsewhere. Because like the thing is I had to do an EQ to match all three elements of this sample, and it sucks, and that's why I layered it, so I can try to thicken it up and kind of manipulate it a little bit. But I mean, it is what it is. Actually pulling down those the main saws down a little bit too, because it's just kind of like fighting for the space with the ARP. What the ARP? What the ARP? Save. Okay, so now and actually too, I'm actually going to lay off on the limiter a little bit more, because it sounds like my signal is starting to get squashed, and I just don't want that. Actually, let me check my baseline again real quick. Yeah, baseline still needs to come up. -15, so I'm going to go to like 8. Yeah, it sounds a lot better, but now it sounds like a little bit squash. So now I'm going to lay off on the limiter a little bit. And let's see, kind of -7. 0.6, so yeah, we'll go like -7. And another thing I did too that's a little crazy for this track is, so like all the bass patches sound super cool, but like it sounded like they just needed a little bit more bite. So what I did is I sent them all to a bus, and on that bus I put OTT and EQ on the OTT. And the reason why I added OTT is because like I feel like the sounds just needed a little bit more bite, and since it's like electro house, having that extra like influx in the information kind of just made it more bold and stand out a little bit. And once this is done freezing, then we can kind of like go over how I did my send, just so it can kind of like not really brighten everything up, but just kind of like add more emphasis on all the information. So yeah, any questions, comments, or concerns? What are you guys thinking? How you guys doing? Blah blah blah. Ding. Blah blah blah. Hell yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. Yo, thanks for the bass patches, dude. That's sick. Thank you guys. Super rad. Yeah, so yeah, with turning up the baseline, it just sounded like it was starting to squash the signal a little bit. So laying off on the limiter will give it a lot more space, and it'll allow for the kick to actually come through too. That's like the only part you like about the song. Yeah, dude, that bass growl is freaking sick, dude. It's like the only part. It's like, yeah, I mean the track's cool, but like that one growl sound, dude, is like really sick, man. Yeah, I think the next tutorial or live stream I do next week, I'm going to do it on sound design. And I'm just going to sit down in Serum and just start making sounds. And then you guys can kind of like get the hang. And like I'll go over like growls and simple like bells and like super saws and all that shit. But yeah, sound design's huge. So I think I'm going to do that for next week. And we'll make like a simple like dubstep drop. And we'll just go over sound design. Hey. You guys are dorks. What the fuck? Sometimes you get one thing right in a 40 channel mix. Yeah. Yeah, this was like super hard to like mix and master because there's just so much shit going on. And like these this saw right here. Like I just wanted that to be like a lot more bright and just like I don't know, maybe like I want to hear something real quick. I'm actually going to cut that to like there and just hear. See that almost sounds pretty clean. It's just like I just feel like it has too much information in the mid-low range. Maybe go up to like 340. Yeah, but now it just sounds thin. Fuck. I feel like this this bass patch has a little bit too much low end in it as well. I really think about that. Ha. You're like, dude, you think this is complicated? Try doing this for your whole career, because this is like all we do. Fuck, man. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna bring that down like 1 more dB. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so check out this send. So, like I said, I'm taking all these sounds and I'm sending them to bus 7. Bus 7 is my OTT. So what I'm doing with this OTT is the depth is up 100%. Actually, I think I might want to... Actually, I'm going to play around with the time real quick. Yeah, put the time at 32%. And then all the way down, I really wanted like more upward compression, so I left it at 100. And actually, you know, thinking about it now, if I kind of just give the low end just a little bit more, it'll probably help squash the mid and the high information, and I'll probably get a little bit more transient out of it as well. And that's just on this bus. And then also too, like I said, I threw a small little EQ on it. And then some compression just to kind of like glue it all together. But yeah, actually I want to pull this down to like 120. And then was it 8? Oh, fuck. Let's do 8K and up. There's nothing. Turn all these bands off. So it's basically the OTT is just affecting this range. So pretty much like 200 to like 5K is being affected by the OTT. And then I have a compressor on after it to kind of just glue everything together. But I want to play with this the low end a little bit. I'm going to bring the volume up on that. 1 dB. 2 dB. All right, so here we go. It's time to dive down the rabbit hole. OTT, which I assume stands for over the top compression. Over the top compression. So basically, what a downward compression is like squashing your signal, right? So it's kind of leveling out the peaks and like just kind of squishing it. Upward compression is the exact opposite. It's taking your waveform and it's pulling it up. So what it's doing is all this, the things within a growl, like the small parts in a growl in the waveform, it's bringing those little parts and stretching it up. So it's beefing up your sound a lot. So it's just basically exploding the wavelength and the waveform, and it's just kind of ripping everything upward. So you're just basically like, you gain volume, but you also gain more harmonics and more elements inside of the sound that wasn't there. Now the thing is that what I'm sending to the bus on all these bass patches, like I'm sending probably like -17. I didn't want that channel to be fully wet. What I'm basically doing is I'm basically doing parallel upward compression. I'm sending it to a bus and I'm mixing it just a little bit, and you'll see over here how much is actually going into it. And let's actually do this. I'm gonna solo everything, at least like the drop, and then I'll turn off the OTT send so you guys can kind of hear what it's doing. Right, so the sounds just sound kind of like just flat and dull a little bit. So now when I send it to the bus, so yeah, so it's just kind of just beefing it up, really, more or less just beefing it up. But the thing that you always want to be careful about, yes, over the top compression. Oh yeah, Nightmare said it in the masterclass. What you want to be careful about is that if you add, like, Virtual Riot is notorious for putting like 6 OTTs on a sound, and it sounds cool. It makes it sound big and freaking crazy. But the thing is that the curse of OTT, if you apply too much, it adds too much information to your sound, so it loses its like dynamic and texture, if that makes sense. And OTT adds a lot of high-end information, so it can make it sound like washy, and it can really ruin like the dynamic of the sound that makes it sound really distinct. So like when you hear a growl, like you can hear like all the texture inside of it. So when you add too much OTT, it kind of just like flatlines it, and it kind of just ruins the dynamic of it. So honestly, everything in moderation is okay, and that's why I decided to do a parallel send, so I can mix it in a little bit and not like do it on every channel and have it be like full force and all that shit. And another reason why I did it on a send is so I can do parallel, but also it saves CPU. So now I can have like one OTT over here, and then I can send like every channel to it. So it saves saves processing and CPU in the long run. So yeah, so all the bass patches are being sent to a send. Just a little bit of OTT. And then actually, I want to make sure that I'm not clipping going into my master, since I have another OTT over there. Yeah, I'm actually gonna... Okay, so let's get to the master chain, and then we can wrap it up, because I know it's been super long and boring and agonizing, so thank you guys for bearing with me this whole time. Okay. So, first thing on my master is I have a EQ. Just minor EQing. I did a few like little ducks right here and over here. Ducking at 700, basically. Just had some like mid-high information that I didn't really want overall. Compression, now I'm basically doing like parallel compression because I'm adjusting the mix and the mix of each compressor. I wanted to keep dynamic in the track. If I would have just went full force and applied too much compression, it would have just like made everything level, and I felt like this track had a lot more character to it, so I didn't want to make everything level. I wanted everything to kind of have its own spot and it to be very like dynamic. So I applied a minor compression. Right, so it's kind of just gluing everything together, not doing too much. And then just a little bit of saturation, warm and warm. And that's what I did for the first part. So a little bit of EQing, compression, and saturation. After that, then I threw on an OTT on my master. And I think I might bring this down to 10% too. So I don't usually do this, but I feel like this electro step kind of vibe could use a little bit more OTT overall, because it has that really cool electronic like bite to it. Like the whole style and sound of this track just sounds like everything should bite and just pop out at you and just really be like up in your face, because I feel like that's what this vibe has. So what I did is I did depth 130% on the time, so it kind of like ducks out and it doesn't just the time is basically like a release. So like it hits a few things and then kind of ducks out and then like kind of just goes back and forth. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to take my my down to 0, and the thing, what I think just happened is it's starting to clip into my limiter. So let's check it out. Yep. So basically it's clipping +2 going into my limiter, so we need to fix that real quick. So what we need to do is go to the output gain and then go to like -10, but for safe sakes, I'm going to go -11. And now let's hear that. And then I took down the highs a little bit because it sounds like I was just adding a little too much high information and kind of making it sound washy. But overall, just kind of bringing up everything. I think I actually might bring this down to like 80%. Okay, so the hi-hats are way too bright, and I can hear them starting to phase with other elements in the mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and bring this little bell curve down. Probably make that a 24. Now let's hear those hats. Now let's hear it in the mix. Sick. Okay, and now the OTT, like, I like pulling the highs up a little bit because, like, it just, I don't know, man, it's kind of making everything pop a little bit more, but, like, at the same time, I'm losing dynamic range. So it's really what you're willing to sacrifice at this point. So I'm still starting to peak. So let's do this. Let's go -2 on the input, and I'll leave the output at -11 here. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so now it's not clipping when it's going into my limiter, because if it clips when it goes into your limiter, there's only so much you can do to save it. So input gain -2 and -13 on the output gain. So that just goes to show what the power of upward compression does. Like, it's boosting everything so much that I have to do a -13 output on the gain to like make sure it's not peaking after that. All right, so let's get into my master, my final master. Okay, so like I said, first I did a little bit of EQing, a little bit of compression, a little bit of saturation, and then afterwards I threw on some OTT to kind of give some OTT to the overall track. And now my main final. So my equalizer did like a small little cut or drop down right here, which I'm actually going to pull in. 500, just sound a little bit muddy, and then like actually I might pull that up. 200 right there. Gave a small little bump around 2K. And then overall, just a little bit more brightness because I overcompensated when I was doing some of the mixing for some of the bass patches and I was cutting out some of the high end. And I just really wanted that information. And then also too, 17,000 and up, I completely took out of the mix. Like anything above that, you don't really need. Actually, 17. You don't really need anything after that. And it just kind of takes up room in the mix. And actually, you know what? I'm going to bring it down to like 16,000. Let's hear how that sounds. Yeah. And then 20 hertz and below, just scooped out. Did a little bit of dynamic EQ, especially for the top end because it was just a little too high at times, and I just kind of want to like compress it all together. A little bit of imaging to kind of like fill out my stereo depth. Let's go ahead and solo this channel 1,000 to 10,000. Kind of just looked over here and saw how well it was doing with like being in stereo and such. And then actually right here, 200 to 100. I actually want to push up just a little bit more. Just give it a little bit more depth. Yeah, it should be good. And then overall, I kind of pushed up the high end because I kind of just want to put that sparkle and high end out on the top or like on the sides. Yeah, and that way, so like that nice high end information, I kind of like push it out to the side and just kind of give some like stereo depth to where it sounds like things are just kind of just like pushed out a little bit, you know what I mean? So I usually do that too with my high end. I just kind of push it out just a tiny bit so it kind of sits on the side. And then my exciter, threw on some dynamic, or not dynamic, but harmonic frequency saturation. Yeah. So I just kind of like for this mid-tone area. Actually, I think I might actually want. Let's do tube. Retro? No. Tube. Just a little bit of saturation, just to kind of bite it, make it bite a little bit more right there. A little bit of warm, and then dialogue on the outside, or on the top end. So it's like just really nice and just sparkly up there. And then my limiter, since I turned down the OTT a little bit, it's not even really hitting the limiter at all now. So now we can kind of go into it and just give some more emphasis on the limiter and kind of just do the last limiting phase on this. Okay, so over here it shows you your RMS and how loud your sound is peaking, but I like to use this meter. I'm not sure what the S stands for. I kind of forgot, but I've always judged it off this S, whatever the fuck this S means, because usually when it goes to like -7, between like industry standard would be -8. So like the meter will hover around -8, and that's what the the industry standard is for loudness for like a mainstream track like country music or, you know, whatever have you. It's usually around -8. So the mix and master they sent me, I think it was like -7. It was peaking at -7, like it was bouncing right here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this meter to kind of get close to their number, and then maybe give it more or less depending on how hard it's hitting my limiter. The process is super interesting. Thank you. So yeah, let's look at that real quick. So right now it's way louder by -2. It's way louder than the track they sent me. I'm actually going to solo the ones they sent me for reference, and I'm going to throw a meter on here as well just to kind of make sure and see what they're leveling at. Holy shit, I need to take off all this. My bad. Yeah, so it's usually sitting around -6. And I think mine was at like -5. So if that is the case, let's kind of slap all this shit back on and then pull up the limiter and then pull up my meter, and we'll kind of look at it again, and then we'll kind of compare and contrast and then find a happy median. Yeah, so mine is way louder than theirs. And I actually want to turn up my bass line a little bit more too. What's it at right now? -8. Let's go like -6. Let's see how that sounds. My kick is not coming through. Okay, so right off the jump, it's already peaking at 0.4 without any of my processing on, my post process for my master chain. So what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna take all this, bring it down, so it's at -7, probably dude, like -10, honestly. The loudness meter is just a stock VST that's in Logic, and I'm sure you guys have it for whatever DAW you guys are using as well. I'll talk more about that here in a second. There we go, that's much better. And now I actually want to bring up the kick. Sick. That sounds a lot better. So that's everything without any post-processing. So the loudness meter, it's just a meter inside of Logic, and you can like reset it. And it's, let's see. So metering, yeah, it's just called loudness meter. I'm sure you can use like some kind of level meter, and then you just kind of look at your RMS. And that's what Ozone has too. So it has an RMS reader over here on your master, so you can kind of like see what number you're peaking at, but I don't really like using RMS, and I'm honestly not sure what this S stands for, or even the M or the I. Like, I don't know. I would have to like Google it again. But like I saw somebody using it before as a reference, and like it just made sense, and it's easy on the eyes. You can kind of tell, and yeah, so it works for me. I feel like it can kind of use some more compression, just to kind of like glue it all together. So I'm going to go back to my compressor and just kind of enhance that a little bit more again, because I feel like there's just too many peaks and ducks in the track. So now let's yeah, I think I like this limiter more on ozone. Yeah, I highly suggest using meters because like it's good for like comparing and contrast too. So like what you can do afterwards is you can find a song similar to this that like sounds professional, like they have a reputable reputation, and then you can like pull it into your DAW, throw a meter on it, and see like, okay, well they're hitting this loud, but I don't really like how squashed their dynamic is, so I'm gonna like go -1 underneath whatever their signal's peaking at. So it's really good, and I use it on all my tracks too, especially because like I just got done making an album, and when I was going through all the tracks, like I was using a loudness meter on every track, and I wanted to stay around the same like overall for every track, so then that way when someone listens to the album, don't have to keep turning up the volume on each and every track and like do all that shit. So I kind of wanted to make sure all the tracks were level. I know producers and engineers who mix bands, whenever they do an album for a band, they'll do the same thing. They'll use a meter and make sure that it's the same level for every track. So I mean, it depends. Like if you guys are doing EP, highly suggested for shizzle. Okay, so I think I found a happy median for how loud it is. Actually, my CPU is starting to die. And I like this IRC 5 transient instead of the IRC LL mode. And the modes over here, if you're using ozone, they're just different modes for the limiter. Each one has a different personality and a different algorithm. So you can't slap the same one on every track. You kind of got to be like, you got to fill it out. Like I went through all of these. I thought the top one was but then when I switched to the IRC 5 with the transient down here, it just kind of sounded a little bit better, just the way that I was interacting with the track. So I'm going to play it again, and we'll just kind of hear if it's loud and hear if it's squashed. So, yeah. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I want it just a little bit louder. Yeah, now it's starting to just crush the signal. I like the pumping that it has. Maybe let's try this one. Let's try the pumping one, and then maybe go to like -12.8, 12.6. There's actually a sound back here that I want to bring up a little bit more in the mix as well. Bow, 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 now. Yeah, let's bring that up a little bit more too. Okay, and you know what? I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this because the thing is it's starting to do a little bit of damage on the limiter, not too much. When I was playing it earlier, you kind of see the limiter ducking and doing some damage. So here. Oh shit. Fuck. No, my computer can't keep up. So yeah, so like over there, it's starting to do a little bit of damage on the track, and I don't want to do that too much because that's going to start brickwalling the signal and start like just squashing the dynamic. So over here on the loudest meter, their track was between -5 and -6. Now, my master, when I checked on the loudness meter, it was bouncing between -6 and -7. And it almost sounds just as loud as theirs. So it's like perceived loudness, right? Perceived loudness. What do you perceive the track as loud to be? And I think I found a good median. I think I'm matching their loudness, toning off just a little bit more and keeping the dynamic, but it's still loud. And for me, I feel like finding that that balance is super important because I don't really care to be loud. I want the track to be dynamic and allow itself to tell a story. And the thing is now that it's dynamic and semi-loud, like it's industry level loud, there will always be a volume knob. So you can turn the volume up and it's going to sound a lot better when it's all loud because there's going to be tons of dynamic and it's not just going to sound like everything is the same level throughout the whole track. So I think I'm pretty content with this. I'm going to listen to theirs one more time. Yeah, it's at -8. Let's check the drop over here. Okay, so theirs is balancing between 7 and 8, which is good. Yeah, no, that's good because that means it's loud and like they still have dynamic and shit. So I want to test out mine again and just look at the meter and see what it says. I feel like it's just something's getting squashed somewhere. Something is not sounding right. Maybe the OTT. Oh, it's this sound right here. Is it? Okay, so I'm going to lay off on the compressor just a little bit. There we go. Actually, a little bit more than that. Because I think they already sidechained some of these elements before they sent them into me, and I'm actually sidechaining a lot of them as well. I think I'm actually sidechaining all of them. So actually what I want to do is, let's highlight all these channels, and then I'm going to take off the compressor that I have for all of these, sidechaining them to the... Actually, no, I don't have any of them. What the fuck? So weird. Okay, never mind. Let's see. Give us everything. Yeah, no, you guys should have everything I have and plus some. But yeah, okay, so something doesn't sound right. I think the signal's getting squashed a little too hard, and we're just kind of pushing the limiter. So maybe we shouldn't use this this algorithm. I'm gonna go back to the LL and see how that sounds now. Sick. Sick. Okay, I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit now. because like I turned it up loud, and like when I turned it up loud in my headphones, like it just sounds like so good. It sounded like fucking open, and like everything had a good place. But now my problem that I'm facing with is how loud is it? Because I don't want it to be too quiet. Like that sound right there. What was that sound? And the thing is that since there's so many sounds in here, like I'm always constantly rearranging the volumes for all the sounds on the drop. And then this needs to come up a little bit more too. Yeah, cool. And then this, I actually want to tone down on the kick a little bit because it's just completely crushing it. Let's tone back on that and context. Yeah, I think this is a good place to leave off at, because at this point I'm kind of getting air fatigue, and I would assume you guys are too, and it's kind of hard to like tell how loud it really is without comparing it to another track. And then just like level wise, I think it sounds pretty good. My headphones are like almost halfway in volume, so I think that if I turned it up any louder, it would sound pretty freaking loud. But let me know how it sounds to you guys. Let me know your guys' settings on your speakers, on your headphones, or whatever you're listening to them on. Yeah, so like -6 to -7 is what theirs is balancing at. I think I just want to kind of turn up the whole drop overall, because I think it's just the drop that sounds just a little too quiet. But the thing is that if I turn it up much more, then my kick is going to have a hard time cutting through. So like you got to find a happy median. Woo! That's beautiful. Damn, hell yeah. Okay, I think this is good because like I have my headphones barely up. And the thing is too is like whenever I start mixing and mastering, well, especially mixing, I make sure my volume on my monitors or my headphones is like super low, so then that way I can really hear where everything is at, and like the mix in the levels all sound pretty good when played with my level low. So yeah, I'm gonna put it at -12 and call it good. Yeah, because that's like loud, and then I feel like if I kind of just go over -12, it's gonna get a lot louder, but we're going to start ruining dynamic, and we're going to start crushing our signal, and that's not what I want to do for this track. So I'm gonna leave it there, dude. -12. You guys saw the limiter. It's doing a little bit, but it's not doing overall damage. And so yeah, this is kind of it for it. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have, the studio is cold, bro, your studio should be hella hot from like the heat that you're streaming right now. What are you talking about? But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns before I get out of here, please feel free to ask real quick, and I'll give you guys like a few minutes to ask me some questions, and then in the meantime, I'm just going to play this out, and feel free to ask me anything before I get out of here. But yeah, I think this is a good spot for what I can do. Yeah, I feel like we found a good median. So shout out to Deformaty and Lightspeed for the sick ass fucking tune, yo. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna turn up the kick a little bit more before we get out of here. Kick, snare. See how that sounds. Ooh. Yeah. No, I'm hella down. Yeah, no, I'll hit you up. And when you come down, we'll definitely kick it. For sure. Deformaty, of course, man. Thank you for sending me the track and like allowing me to do it, because this has been fun. The fire track is the only heat source. Else is welcome to message me. Yeah, dude, hit these guys up for sure. They're fucking cool, and I highly suggest checking out more of their music. If you guys know anybody else in the industry that's kind of like mid-tier artist, and they would want to do this, have them get a hold of me. I like hit up Big and Slim, Blaze, and like a few other people. But yeah, I want to start getting more artists in here and start, you know, sharing. So yeah, be right back. BRB. Yeah, and I'm just making small little tweaks right now. Just kind of bringing down the low end a little bit because I feel like the low end's kind of just crushing the top. So yeah, just small tweaks. But overall, like this is definitely it. This sounds sick. Yeah, go check them out. Go check them out. Support, love. Oh God, what's happening here? More sidechain on this, just a little bit more on the compressor, kind of bring that down a little bit more. And yeah, dude, this track sounds fucking sick. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and that's it, dude. I think this track sounds good. If you guys want this master version, let me know, and I can like export it and put all the information on it and give it to you guys. If you guys don't like it, that's cool too. But either way, I had tons of fun mixing and mastering this track, and I think it sounds pretty fucking massive. And I would love to hear this on a big rig. This is sick, dude. So big ups to Lightspeed and Deformaty. Yeah, I'll do some exporting later on tonight after my meeting, and I'll send it over to you guys. Yeah, make sure to check them out. They're doing some really cool shit right now. I found them on my Feeding Back Tuesday stream. So I always show love to anybody and everybody that I meet on there. So yeah, so I guess I'll just see you guys on Tuesday, and then next week I'll also be doing a sound design tutorial live on YouTube as well. But yeah, this is kind of it. Working with what I had for the samples. Again, I wish some of the samples were more broken up so I could like really do some nitpicking. But for what it is, I think I found a happy median, and it sounds loud, and it's not. I'm not destroying my limiter, and they're still dynamic, and it sounds really good if you fucking turn it up. So yeah, big shout out to everybody. And if you guys have any questions after the show or anything too, please feel free to hit me up anytime. So yeah, now you know why, and I'll see you guys next week. Bang, 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 bang. Oh yeah, I'm gonna save this before like my shit crashes. Yeah, no, much love everybody. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Whoa, no, I don't want that.